And welcome to the Arkansas Weather Blog. We are your ticket to big weather events. Recording this Wednesday, November the 5th, shortly before the noon hour. The rain continues to come down out there. Love the sound of that on a rainy day with the gutters and you hear that rain dropping. Hey, I always like to talk about what's happening down the road, and I continue to see signs that there's going to be a pretty decent blast of cold air, especially by the middle of next week. So that'd be the week of November 9th, am I right? 10th? Anyway, so next week. And I've got some very new, exciting products here that I want to show you off of weatherbell.com. You always hear us talk about the NAM, the GFS, the Euro. The GFS, right now, they have on their website an experimental GFS, which I don't know when it becomes operational, but I can look at it now, and I haven't. I'm going to be completely honest. It's experimental for a reason. It's higher resolution. They have gotten the grid down, the resolution from 27 kilometer grid to a 13 kilometer, and so that means that it should produce, theoretically, it should produce better results, and that's something that the GFS has been lacking and has been constantly beat by the European model. So I believe this is the attempt to get this back up there and as a major model, especially in the long range. However, I had a little Twitter conversation with meteorologist Joe Bastardi with weatherbell.com, and yeah, theoretically, it should produce better results. However, it may, because it's a higher resolution, it could actually magnify some of the known errors of the GFS because the physics of the model have not been improved. Anyway, it's experimental for a reason. Now, I'm going to show you some of the experimental products here, what it's showing for next week, but also keep in mind that the other models, even the operational GFS and the operational European, are basically showing the same thing. However, this experimental GFS is actually stronger with the cold air. So it's really going to be an interesting test to see how this performs for next week. What you're looking at right here, this is a product, this is the GFS operational, what we're used to, 500 millibars. I know it looks like a kid has just gotten a hold of a 64 count crayon box, but this actually tells us something very important next Wednesday morning. And I'll show you. This is a ridge. You see this? You see those black lines making a ridge over Western Canada? When you get ridging up into Alaska and into Western North America, Western Canada, that dislodges the cold air and it sends it south. So this is at jet stream level. And so what it's doing is it's hitting that Arctic air and dislodging it and sending it to the south. So at this point in time, next Tuesday and Wednesday, it's in the process of coming down the plains. And this is the type of shallow, low-level cold air which is going to affect areas mainly along the eastern front of the Rockies eastward towards the Appalachians and eventually the East Coast. So we see that ridge going up. We look at some indices, and I don't think I can move this around. Let me see if I can do this. This is the GFS, and I'll be very brief about this, but this is called the Arctic Oscillation, very important this time of the year. You see the zero line right here. This is its pass. Here's November 1st, November 3rd, November 5th, and then I'm blocking the 7th. But anyway, you can see here the operational is taking it on the latest run, boom, next week into the negative, all right? And what that's telling us when it's in its negative phase, what that does is it's an indication that there's blocking at higher latitudes, and that blocking helps force cold air towards the south. All right, that's the GFS. This is the European. Whoop. There we go. Well, I keep going back to the European. Okay, there's the European showing the Arctic Oscillation Index. It's up here at positive, and look at it, just tanks into the negative next week. So there's signs that the cold air is going to get forced towards the south. Now this is the experimental run of the GFS, and this is valid. Let's see here. When is this valid? Next Monday. There's the leading edge of the cold air. This is showing you what's called 2-meter temperatures. That's a snapshot of 2-meter temperatures at 6 o'clock next Monday. And it's cool to mild here. But you can see that cold air getting dislodged, and it's coming down the plains. This is the leading edge of it from near Chicago through Missouri and into Kansas and to the eastern front of the Rockies. And this is all going to be aimed down the plains and to the east. This is the surface map. I'm having problems with this. Can you tell? There's the surface low, and there's the front. There's the leading edge of the cold air. Way up here in the corner of the screen, do you see that? That's a 1042 surface high. And see how these isobars are stacked up? Low pressure. A couple areas of low pressure. But anyway, the difference between high pressure and low pressure, that means that there's a tight pressure gradient. There's a lot of wind with this at the surface. So we're going to be talking about some pretty brutal wind chill temperatures with the air that will be coming down next week. Now let's see if we can go a little bit further here. Into, now we're looking again at the experimental GFS. And these are, I jumped ahead one map here, but this is at Thursday morning, next Thursday morning, November the 13th at 6 a.m. And it's showing that the low temperature is going to be in the 20s and 30s, which is close to what we had not too long ago. However, it shows high temperatures. This is what I'm saying I jumped ahead. This is a high temperature on next Wednesday, November the 12th. But it's showing high temperatures. And again, this is the colder of all the models I've seen. Upper 30s in central Arkansas to around 40 degrees. So it's showing a high of about 39 to 40 degrees. And there would be some clouds and wind which would hold temperatures up at night. But you're not, according to this piece of information, and there's only one person who knows for sure, and it's not me, but I'm looking at the data here. There's a very small difference between the high and the low, which would be an indication that there could be some clouds and some wind around, which will keep the daytime highs very low, but the nighttime lows from dropping off a cliff. Do I see moisture in this pattern at this time? No. Now, there's one other very important map I want to show you here. And, whoops. This is the ensemble. This is a bunch of different models here. And this is the mean 5-day average 2-meter temperature in degrees Celsius. This is the anomaly. In degrees Celsius over a 5-day period, days 6 through 11. This was from the 0Z run last night, and this is from 6Z. This is from November the 11th to November the 16th. So from November 11th through the 16th, this is the mean anomaly in degrees Celsius. Do you see all the warm colors here? That's showing you where the ridging is really taking place. Do you see that? So a large ridge of high pressure. So usually when you see Alaska getting above average in temperatures, that means that the cold air is getting dislodged and it's got to go somewhere and it's going south. And so you see this huge area along and east of the Rocky Mountains where these temperatures, and again, I'm hiding the scale here, but those purples over Arkansas up into Illinois, those purples are indicating that those anomalies over the 5-day period are going to be as much as 10 degrees Celsius. That's very cold air. So it's going to dump that cold air from the Arctic regions right down into southern Canada and into the United States. So that's day 6 through 11. Now, like I said, this is long-range stuff, but this model here, the experimental GFS, is really going gung-ho with shoving that cold air towards the south. And the operational is too, so is the operational GFS, and so is the European model, but not to the extreme as this experimental GFS that I'm just now starting to watch. And I don't know when it becomes operational. It's in beta testing right now, but I thought, hey, I show it to you, and it's courtesy of weatherbell.com, fantastic website. And as you hear me talk about them all the time, and meteorologist Joe Bastardi, a lot of people will use, I've used him for the winter forecast. I do 7 to 10 day forecasting. That's what I specialize in. These guys are looking months down the road. And the reason why I'm showing you their forecast instead of NOAA's forecast is because they have been spot on. They have been extremely accurate with their forecasting for at least the past year now, their seasonal forecast. So they are really in tune with what's going on with global weather patterns and how that's getting, you read some of the stuff that they're putting out in the domination of our pattern by sea surface temperatures. It only makes sense too because, the Earth is 75% water and those temperatures, ocean temperatures, play a huge role in our climate. So anyway, enough about that. The main gist of this post is just to let you know that I really think we're going to get some cold air in here by the middle to end of next week. Thank you so much for coming to the Arkansas Weather Blog. We are your ticket to big weather events.